Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Late Night Learning. I am your host, Dr. Anthony Palumba. Now, today we're going to be doing the part 2 segment of entertainment and psychology. So in our first part, we were kind of just getting our feet wet in theory, trying to understand how people adopt technology, the uses people have for technology, and how advertisements and jingles and other things get stuck in our minds. In this segment, we're going to be talking about colors. We're going to be talking about how people navigate the world around them as well. And we're also going to be talking about touch and consumer behavior. Let's get started. So for the first slide that I have here, I'll read the comic briefly because it really does tackle some of the theories to the left side of the screen. The mother is shouting at her son, "If you keep watching that violence, your head is going to explode, splattering your mushy brains all over my nice clean carpet." And of course, what does the 5 or 7-year-old say? Cool, amazing, awesome. This is indicative of a few things that are bulleted to the left side of the screen. For one, we have something called cultivation theory. Cultivation theory states that as we watch television, as we watch televised news in particular, we cultivate a sense about the world. Who here has had a conversation about moving to a particular part of a city or a particular part of Queens or Brooklyn or Manhattan? And you'll have your grandmother or grandfather who constantly watches the 10 o'clock news and says, "Oh my gosh, you can't go in that neighborhood. It's dangerous. You're going to get killed." Okay. So cultivation theory really does help explain people's perceptions of races, ethnicities, where there are high crime rates, kind of over-exaggerated notions of particular people or particular places throughout the world. That's cultivation theory, that we cultivate a sense of the world around us through television or through radio or through movies. And so as you can imagine, there are a lot of studies that apply cultivation theory to help explain why people think the way that they do based on the amount of news they've consumed, be it on Fox News, be it on MSNBC. We also have social identity theory here, as well as social learning theory here. Social identity theory states that we identify with a particular group. So this child might have cultivated a sense of the world around him as particularly violent, because all he watches are violent cartoons. Social identity theory states he might even see himself as one of the characters. He might even see himself as part of this particular group. And so for him, he might say, yeah, I'm just one of the other, MTV stars of Teen Wolf, or I'm just like Bugs Bunny, or I'm just like one of these other cartoon characters. I have group membership. Social identity theory states that we have and identify with a group. Now, some of you might identify as jocks. Some of you might identify as nerds. Some of you might identify as techies or fashionistas. Some of you might watch the Jersey Shore or Jersey Shore family reunion and say, you know what? I can totally relate to Vinny. I can totally relate to Pauly D. We do this as consumers. We have these group memberships. Now, I might identify with the Jersey Shore or with Jersey Shore family vacation, but I'm not carrying around a Jersey Shore or Guido or Guidette membership card. I'm not doing anything like that, right? We don't really need to seek permission to be a part of these groups. We just perceive ourselves to be part of them. And so we see ourselves relating to a little bit of what we see. The third bulleted point here is social learning theory. We learn without teachers. We learn without educators. We learn without being directly instructed. That is social learning theory. We learn things about the world without instruction, without an education, without a structured educational system. This is why you might wonder how in the world your nephew or niece knows what twerking is. And you are beside yourself when he or her starts explaining it to you at Thanksgiving dinner. Social learning theory states, especially children, pick up things about the world without really being told directly. We indirectly kind of pick up things and we learn. And so that composite there, cultivation theory, social identity theory, social learning theory, is a really, really strong aggregate theoretical framework. Even though it's three theories there, let me be clear, they are three separate theories that really do help explain how children formulate opinions, how adults formulate opinions, how people perceive the world around them and come to believe what they believe. Let's move along. Perception. Our senses are always touched and stimulated by entertainment and media. There is some sort of stimulation that goes on with perception. In particular, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch, what we hear, what we see. All of those are exceptionally important to the overall entertainment and media consumption experience. Now, there are no theories here, let me be clear, but it is a very, very strong variable, and so I usually include it in this lecture. It's important to be mindful of sensations because sensory marketing goes on and continues to go on a lot in entertainment and media. If we think of going to theme parks, we go to Disney, we go to Universal Studios, maybe some of us are brave enough to ride some of the roller coasters. If we look at those experiences, sensory marketing is going on. When I was at Universal Studios in Florida a few years ago, I went down Diagon Alley and I went into Harry Potter World. I could smell the butterbeer. I could taste the jelly beans. And so that kind of sensory marketing is super powerful when we think about motivating and galvanizing people to consume Harry Potter related product, be it another book, be it a movie, be it a costume, be it actually drinking butterbeer, whatever it might be, sensory marketing is at play. I mentioned virtual reality here because virtual reality is exceptionally important to the future of media and entertainment. Right now, Riot Media and a lot of other virtual reality companies in California and a few in New York and elsewhere are really working toward creating 360-degree immersive experiences for audiences, trying to simulate not only just sight and hearing, but also feeling as though you're being carried up a mountain, or feeling as though you're running away from a zombie in a 360-degree virtual reality world and landscape. And so VR is exceptionally important here as we move forward in innovating new media and entertainment products and services. Let's move along. So, our perceptions are also impacted by schemas. Schemas help us with our pre-existing knowledge, what we know to be true in the world. And so we carry these all the time. And again, our perceptions and schemas and pre-existing knowledge are not theories. There is one theory on this slide at the bottom, flow theory, which I will get to. But pre-existing knowledge of genres, for instance, is very, very important. Remember, entertainment genres, horror, action, and adventure are used to organize content. They are used to market content. If you know that you are going to go see a new horror movie by Blumhouse Productions, which is an excellent, excellent motion picture movie studio for horror, you might expect a few things there, right? Blood, screaming, violence. All of these associations with horror help serve to inform our pre-existing knowledge of genres. Genres serve as a way to market and inform consumers and to manage their expectations. That's really important to note because we've seen these blunders done in Hollywood in which this hasn't been executed well. Guillermo del Toro, who recently directed Shape of Water, directed Crimson Peak a few years ago. Some of you may have seen this movie. Crimson Peak was a gothic romance movie. That's what Guillermo del Toro stated in an interview. However, when he brought the movie to Universal Studios, they looked at it and said, how are we going to market and distribute a goth romance movie? No, that's not going to work. And so they elected to market it as a horror movie. How do you think it did at the box office? Poorly. You're absolutely right. Universal Studios did not manage consumers' experiences well. And so our perceptions are important, and we all walk around with schemas or pre-existing knowledge of what we know about something. If you were going to operate a camera, if you were going to watch another American Horror Story anthology season, you might have seen a few before. That's your schema. That's your pre-existing knowledge upon which you compare new information, which is watching the new American Horror Story season in front of you and saying, well, it's kind of like the previous American Horror Story seasons. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's up for you to decide. But in order to do this, especially in entertainment and media, we have to be transported. The basis of entertainment and media is to really transport us into different worlds, to make us reconsider what we see, to make us reconsider what we know, and to kind of challenge us into what we think. And so transportation is really, really important, and it must be done in entertainment. You must feel as though, to a certain extent, you're in Jurassic Park, or you must feel as though you're on a ship with Johnny Depp in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And so that transportation is really, really important because we become absorbed in a narrative, and it thrusts us into a different world. This is really, really important if we are to achieve flow. Flow theory is a very, very important theory when we think about how people become absorbed and really swept up into entertainment. Flow theory states that people may become part of a particular task or engaged in a particular activity. So this may deal with you being a sculptor, let's say. Let's say that you're a sculptor. You love sculpting so much, or all you can think about is sculpting. And so when you're sculpting, you lose track of time. External influences don't impact you. They don't interrupt you. You might have a cat in the room, or your cell phone might go off. You are so dialed in to sculpting, or you're so dialed into painting or writing, or maybe another kind of hobby that you have, you're not interrupted. And time flies very, very quickly for you. This has happened with me with writing and with doing research. Time flies because you're so invested and enveloped in what you're doing. And so flow theory states that people can enter this particular state in which they are focused on one task and external influences do not interrupt flow. And so flow theory has been applied really to explain how well people are immersed in content, how long they're immersed in content, and what can interrupt flow for audience members. If you're playing a video game and the whole afternoon has gone by, and I know some of us are guilty of that, myself included, you really begin to get a sense of how engrossed people can be in entertainment and how engrossed you can be in entertainment as well. Flow theory works out very, very well for advertisers as well, because if you have any kind of product placement, let's say, in a video game, it could be a NASCAR or NBA game in which Snickers is on one of the billboards. If you're in a state of flow, you're only focusing on the video game and your own video game play. And so video games that really demand a lot from players, constantly being vigilant for bombs or for shooters or anything like that, tend to really engross players and tend to be best explained by flow theory, because video game players have so much going on and so much hand-eye coordination and dexterity is necessary to survive a round of Call of Duty or Halo or Battlefield or Gears of War or Fortnite or Apex Legends for that matter. All of those video games really do require that. And so flow theory really does help us wrap our minds around how people get sucked into content for a while, and external influences really don't interrupt that, although eventually we obviously stop. But that period, that state, is a state of flow. Let's move along. Consumer behavior, colors, and perception. Oh, I love colors. I hope you do too. Colors are interesting. We see colors everywhere in entertainment and media, obviously, and they help exhibit and dictate and inform information about something. I'll get to that in a moment. A few things to note about color, though. Colors are duller to older people than to younger people. This is why your grandparents from Miami, when they come in to visit from Miami, are dressed as human highlighters. It is why their shirts are so yellow. It is why their shirts are so green. It is why their shirts are so bright. It is because to them, it's not as bright as you might see it to be. Additionally, and I was just as disappointed to read this as you were, the rest of the gentlemen listening to this lecture, women see colors way, way better than men do. This is why your girlfriend, your friend, your significant other, as long as it's a female, this is why she cannot decide between 3 shades of red and you're thinking that she's lost her mind. It is because we don't see the nuances and the differences across the 3 shades of red in the 3 red dresses that your girlfriend or friend or significant other is thinking about. Men, we really don't see differences as well as women do. Women are way more sensitive to shades, and unfortunately, men are more likely to be colorblind than females, which is very, very unfortunate. But gentlemen and ladies, your girlfriend, your friend, your significant other, whatever female you're thinking about right now who does this all the time, they are extraordinarily perceptive with colors. So have a little bit more patience the next time you are dealing with that particular person and they cannot decide between 3 shades of blue in going to the party. Let's move along. If you don't think colors mean anything in entertainment, obviously from this chart, you're probably wrong. As you can see here, colors exude a lot of different kinds of meaning. And I've particularly taken these particular show posters to help illustrate that. If we look in the bottom right-hand corner, we have It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you do not know this show, if you have not seen an episode, please, for the love of God, the universe, whomever you pray to, go see an episode of this show. You will not be disappointed. So, as we see here, we have yellow and we have black illustrated here in this particular logo for It's Always Sunny. Fine. If we go to the left corner, the upper left corner, we can see this chart right here. There are a few things here to note. If we look under yellow, we have cheerful, attention, childish, fresh, warmth, energy, and optimism. Now, this show is predicated on dark humor and those 5 cast members whose heads are kind of stacked, kind of one-upping each other and screwing over each other pretty regularly. And so it's kind of an ironic twist that it's always sunny and cheerful and bright and yellow, because that show is very much far from it. It's very funny, but those 5 characters are awful to each other. As we can see in the upper left-hand quadrant, we also have the color black that is illustrated here. Bold, rich, power, mystery, elegance, evil, and strength. I would probably say evil is most applicable to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, these colors can be applied elsewhere. If we look in the bottom left corner, we have the Real Housewives of Orange County. We have a lot of orange and pinks and reds exhibited there. Pink tends to be the most feminine color. It's often associated with being female. Tenderness, sensitivity, caring, emotional, sympathetic love, and sexuality. Fine. Orange deals with health, attraction, wealth, and youthfulness. There's a reason why there is an orange background there. Certainly these women are middle-aged, but they look great, they're fit, they're ambitious, they're interesting. All of that can be exuded best by using some orange and some pink. And if we go to purple, we can see under purple, we have royal, mysterious, even a bit of arrogance, luxury as well. These women are all wealthy. If we go to the other side of the chart, we can also see Vanderpump Rules, which is on Bravo. We see a lot of purple, we see a lot of black. Purple deals with royalty, it deals with mysteriousness, arrogance, and luxury. I can safely say that is definitely indicative of that show. If we go up to the black color, bold, rich, power, mystery, elegance, evil, and strength. Yeah, all of those are pretty much exhibited on that show as well. And then if we go to the upper right-hand corner, we have the show Blackish, which is absolutely laugh out loud funny, very warm and positive, although the show is very brave in tackling a lot of issues surrounding race and ethnic identification as well. Now, all the characters here kind of do look like highlighters to a certain extent, but they're probably illustrating here that this is a fun, funky, loud, fresh, original family. And largely that's true on the show for any of you who have seen it. It's a really, really great show, another show I highly recommend. We can see in the middle graph here the color emotion guide. And so we can see that certain brands that you and I use every day really do try to get behind one of these colors. If we look at yellow, we have optimism. McDonald's is always, ba-dum-bum-bum-bum, I'm loving it. It's a very positive, warmth, engaging kind of advertisement, right? If you look at Best Buy commercials, also yellow. It's the same kind of deal. Orange is friendly. We have Nickelodeon there as well. We have Gulf there as well. We have Orange Crush Soda there as well. If we go to red for excitement and bold, as you look through it, you can kind of see Kellogg's and Nintendo and Kmart and Coca-Cola and Lego and Target, excuse me. Creative and wise, we have Sci-Fi, and we have Taco Bell, and we have Yahoo. For trust, for blue, we have Lowe's and HP and Oreo. Green for peaceful and health, we have logos like Starbucks and John Deere. And balance, we have Cartoon Network, we have New York Times, Nike, Honda, and all of those other kinds of logos. Actually, Apple is there as well. And so you don't need to memorize these color schemes. And each color scheme tackles different meanings for each color. What is important to note here, I think, from this entire slide is that colors matter. Colors matter. The next time you watch a TV show, see what colors characters are wearing. Is it red and black? Somebody about to have a fight? Or two colors being worn by the same two characters? Is one character wearing blue and green? Is another character wearing blue and green? Are they in a relationship? Are they about to talk? Are they about to stand next to each other? Color schemes matter, not just in TV posters, but in media content itself. Seeing where characters are placed, seeing how a scene is constructed and then developed and then shot. Colors mean everything in entertainment and media. Next time you play a video game, watch a movie, watch a TV show, be mindful of the colors that characters are wearing, the colors of the set. They all exude meaning, and they help tie in communication from the show to its audience members. Let's move along. Consumer behavior and touch. So touching an item, we know this, can cause perceived ownership. This is why when we are in the mall and we walk by a kiosk and there's always somebody, it's always, oh my gosh, it's always lavender lotion. Somebody is always trying to get lavender lotion in our hands, right? Oh, please, ma'am, sir, 5 seconds of your time, just try this. And they wind up just putting the lotion in your hands really without your permission. And they start kind of, smoothing it in, as it were. And then you're just smelling like lavender the rest of the day. And so they do this, salespeople do this because it creates perceived ownership, right? If you don't believe me, hold your friend's iPhone for a minute before giving it back to them. We begin to kind of feel a little possessive of items if we hold them for a certain amount of time. Touch creates stimulation and it grabs our attention. This is also why when we go to video game stores, we have test stations. We have these test stations because they really allow audience members to be able to play video games and to be able to say, yeah, I kind of see myself owning an Xbox One. When you go to a car dealership, they want to get you into a car immediately. Never mind looking at one. Why? They want you to have perceived ownership. They absolutely want you to see yourself in the car, literally, and driving it around because it's harder to say no to. Consumer confidence is raised when we're able to touch a product as well. We perceive ownership over something when we can hold it, and we're able to kind of have this control over it. It's very, very desirable in that regard. Let's move along. Voyeurism, a little bit different than consumer touch. And so voyeurism is probably something you've heard in the past that has either led to a dark, seedy website or just looks dark and seedy and you were smart enough to not click on it. Yes, voyeurism is often associated with the pornography industry, for sure. We will not be talking about the pornography industry today, but it is probably where you've heard of voyeurism. And so intimate moments and details surrounding consumers and of a kind of sexual explicit nature really do help underscore what voyeurism is. Voyeurism is peeking into that hole and seeing intimate moments and details surrounding characters or consumers or people, and it can be sexually explicit. We do this all the time with reality TV, don't we? We watch other couples fight in their bedrooms. We watch other couples have sex or kiss or hug in other bedrooms as well. Jersey Shore was infamous for having the smush room in which people would hook up, and there were cameras in there as well. And so we are drawn as an audience toward voyeurism to a certain extent. I'm not saying we're all, looking to watch people have sex, but certainly gaining intimate details about couples and about friendships are things that, generally speaking, we're very much drawn to. So the stimulation is really done by visual means here. We know that audiences like to observe, and there's some sort of participation that goes on with voyeurism, because in reality television shows, we're kind of the fly on the wall, right? We're kind of a degree closer to what's going on. If you think of The Big Bang Theory, it's structured, there are directors behind the cameras, it's a 3-cam comedy show, there's not much else going on here, there's not much variability here. It's a little bit different when we think about a reality show, because we're literally following these people and cameras are following them along. It feels as though we're a degree closer in engagement and in participating in the particular show. So what we found is that romance and competition-based shows inherently are important to voyeurism. And so romance and competition elicit voyeuristic interest. Additionally, sensation-seeking and voyeuristic personality traits lead to viewing reality TV. So if we're looking for sensations, if we may have a voyeuristic personality, we're kind of interested in people's private lives, private moments, we might be inclined to watch reality TV. Men score higher in sensation-seeking. Women tend to prefer reality TV and situational comedies, while men prefer animated sitcoms and action when it comes to voyeurism and voyeuristic type programs. And so it's interesting to note here that we all have a predilection toward sensation seeking. Now, I didn't really tackle sensation seeking earlier, but this will be kind of the final thing that I'll touch upon in this particular segment of the lecture. When we think about sensation seeking and we think about excitement and thrills, we get an adrenaline rush. That's part of what comes with sensation seeking. We're looking for going down a roller coaster and screaming and yelling, and all of that. We like to feel that. It's a rush. It's exciting. We needed that for our central nervous systems and other systems within our body to fend off danger. If we think about our ancestors who at one point were living in the woods before civilization, they had to deal with lions and tigers and jaguars and bears and other threats that we are now kind of insulated from in modern day society. And so our adrenaline systems were very, very crucial in our own survival. In fact, if you subscribe to natural selection and evolution, it makes sense that some of our ancestors probably didn't inherit a very strong adrenaline system. And so some of them likely saw a tiger and didn't get the rush necessary to start running away, and unfortunately were probably killed. So we all have fairly strong adrenaline systems and nervous systems. And so we do have this within us, but many of you will go home tonight, or if you're home right now, you're not worrying about a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a bear, a gun going off, or anything like that. We're fairly insulated from danger today in modern civilization, for sure, compared to our ancestors. We don't really get an opportunity to flex our adrenaline systems. We don't really get an opportunity to flex the fight or flight scenario in which we're up against danger and we have to figure out, do we fight or do we run away? We don't really have those opportunities like our ancestors did. And so voyeurism is attractive in that it's kind of naughty. It's something we really shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be poking in on our neighbors to see what the fight was about that they had. What was that skirmish at dinner all about? Why did they rush off? We know it's kind of naughty, so it's kind of exciting because it is dangerous in that respect. And it does allow us from a biological, physiological standpoint to exercise our own adrenaline systems and to get that rush that we really don't usually get anymore because we're fairly protected in society. Well, that's all the time we have on Late Night Learning. As always, keep laughing and keep learning.